It's time for Ask Annex. Got a question? You head to our website, annexwealth.com. In the studio, Sarah Kyle, a wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management. Welcome.
Hi, Danny.
And Fred Coleman, wealth manager at Annex Wealth Management. Welcome to you.
Thanks, Danny.
First question. I have unexpectedly been given an inheritance that's $5,000 every year for 9 years. My student loans aren't bad. They're $13,000. I'm getting married next year and want to purchase a house. I've heard that when people pay off their student loans, their credit plunges. I'm conflicted. What should I do? Well, first off, celebrate. Right?
Celebrate the windfall. That's very nice. But when applying for a mortgage, the lenders consider your debt-to-income ratio. So paying off that student loan can reduce your debt-to-income. That might make it easier to qualify for a mortgage and potentially get a better interest rate. So I would just assess your overall financial goals. If you have other high-interest debts, such as credit cards, it may be more beneficial to pay those off first before tackling that student loan.
Sometimes when you do pay off an account that's pretty old, it can take a slight hit to your credit. But like Sarah said, the biggest thing is going to be your debt-to-income ratio. Usually your debt-to-income ratio should be no more than 28% of your gross income. That's the most important thing. And then also financial planning with your future spouse to make sure that both of you are on the same page.
Probably a different topic, but we pay off a loan and our credit score goes down.
That's crazy.
That's crazy. Next up on Ask Annex, my house is paid for, so my only housing obligation are yearly property taxes. I've got a beneficiary IRA which has an RMD. The RMD amount nearly equals my property taxes. Instead of accruing the amount for taxes monthly, does it make sense instead to use the RMD to pay for them?
Sometimes a lot of people do earmark their RMDs for property taxes or other year-end expenses, so that strategy can work. Ultimately, it comes down to personal preference if you like to pay monthly or pay annually. One thing to consider with a beneficiary IRA is the 10-year rule, and that rule states that a beneficiary IRA needs to be liquidated by the 10th year following the original owner's death. You want to make sure that if your beneficiary IRA is within that 10-year rule, then you want to make sure you know that you won't be able to do that forever.
Next up on Ask Annex, my son has a new car loan, and she names the interest, and thinks he needs to be aggressive on paying it off. In order to do that, he's considering pausing his 401k contributions. Seems like a bad idea to me. Help. Now, I said her. I'm assuming this is a mom question.
That's definitely a mom question.
And for that, we turn to the mom, Sarah.
Men never ask for help. Only women do, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Well, by contributing to that 401k consistently, your son definitely benefits from that power of compound interest. So over time, his investments can grow substantially, and missing out on even a few years of contributions can really have a significant long-term impact. So instead of completely stopping that 401k contribution, your son could consider reducing the contribution amount temporarily while maintaining eligibility for that employer match. Now, that's free money, so you just always want to make sure you're contributing enough to get that if he's eligible for that. And then this way he can progress on both debt repayment and retirement savings.
There's no better return than that free match. That's a 100% return, and that far outweighs the 7% interest rate that he'd be paying on the car. Also, before paying off that 7% interest rate on the car, if he's completely debt-free, then it's a consideration. But if he has other higher interest debt, then those should be addressed first.
And our final question on Ask Annex. I turned 40 this year and I've got about $40,000 spare cash I'd like to invest somewhere with a goal of making it $1 million in 10 years by the time I turn 50. I'm open to suggestions how to invest the money. We are debt-free with a house and cars paid off and are maxing out our 401ks. Well, good job so far.
You're doing all the right things as far as making sure you paid off debt, maxing out 401k. So it's good that you want to invest a little bit more. The first step is really just writing down the numbers and figuring out what type of return that you need to accomplish this goal. Once that's figured out, you could match potential investments with that level of return. But it's also about how much risk do you want to take? How flexible are your goals? Are you willing to wait longer than 10 years? Are you able to save even more than the $5,000? And also, how much liquidity do you want with your investments? All these things need to be considered in the plan before we could make a recommendation.
With that 10-year time horizon, you can take more risk, and you're going to need a hefty return, so you're going to have to be aggressive. So a nice diversified stock portfolio could help achieve that goal. But the key, too, is you are going to need to be consistent. 10 years is a long time, and when those markets pull back, it's very hard to keep that consistent contribution. So that's super important. When you're accumulating, stay the course, stay consistent in your contribution strategy, and just remember you want the volatility when you're accumulating, because now you get the opportunity to buy some stocks on sale.
Sarah Kyle, Wealth Manager, Annex Wealth Management, thank you.
You're welcome, Danny.
Fred Coleman's a Wealth Manager at Annex Wealth Management as well. Thanks to you.
Thanks for having me.